The word somatic is used a lot in the recovery, mind-body wellness community. And simply, somatic means body. So anything that is based in our body is somatic. So Shubhana teaches that most somatic symptoms are a physical release valve for suppressed emotional distress. So a somatic symptom is actually the brain's way of using the body to try and express repressed and suppressed emotions. So these emotions sit in your unconscious, they're not in your conscious brain, which is why doing practices in relation to all of this, in relation to healing, we have to practice, because actually what we've got to do is build new neural pathways so that the unconscious brain understands that it needs to get on board with what we are now wanting to do with our lives, and it doesn't need to repress and suppress our emotions anymore. Easier said than done, I know. But these exercises are somatic tracking exercises. So we've got the somatic symptoms, and then we have somatic tracking. So somatic symptoms we release with the emotional awareness and expression therapy stuff. So that's the journaling, it's the I use art, it's the way that we can use what we can do now to express our emotions safely. Somatic tracking is slightly different in that what we're doing is we are learning to sit with those symptoms safely, because we recognize that it's just us. It's just us and our emotions, and we don't have to be afraid of it. So this is when we meet ourselves with that calm, quiet mind, and we actually start to learn that we don't have to feel good to be okay. And that we can just start to notice what's going on, and we don't have to react in the same way anymore, because every time we react with fear and panic and, oh my God, get out of my body, we are carrying on those suppressed emotions that they're not getting out of us still. So we have to learn to be really, really calm if we can, or the more, just not even worry anymore. You don't have to like your symptoms. We just need to accept that they're there, that they're part of us, and they will go. And once that brain gets the message, it will start to help calm them down. It will reduce the noise, it will reduce the volume of the symptoms, and slowly but surely, definitely but surely, those big loud symptoms become less and less and less and less. As I said, not easy. So the first practice is going to be a way to just recognize how to do this safely, and then we've got 2 more practices in order to help us understand different versions of what somatic tracking can look like. So find somewhere comfy to sit. We're going to take that big deep breath. Exhale. And we're going to try some somatic tracking exercises together. Before we begin, a little side note on when we use somatic tracking. We don't use somatic tracking when our symptoms are at 10, when they're the biggest they can be, because it's very, very hard, obviously, to say, I'm okay with this, when actually all we want to do is scream and cry and make it stop. We use somatic tracking when our symptoms are middling. Actually, the best way to learn somatic tracking is to do it when you've got no symptoms at all. And this is when we just start to check in and we start to notice our bodies. So actually, I've got the gong on my phone that goes off every hour, and every hour I get to have a moment where I go, oh, am I tense? Can I drop my shoulders a bit more? What am I feeling in my body? So actually, if we start practicing this before we even get to the symptoms, we're building those new amazing neural pathways that start to recognize how safe it is to be in our bodies before we even get to worrying about symptoms. But if you have got symptoms, we then use this on the symptoms as a strategy when they are middling, or when they are frustrating, but you don't think you can't cope with them. Because when we do that, again, what we're teaching the brain is it's safe to sit with the symptoms. As I said, if you are on fire, don't do this, because actually all you're doing is you're probably teaching yourself that it doesn't even feel safe to try and feel your feelings, okay? So that's the caveat to somatic tracking. We try and use it when we're actually in a space where we feel safe to use it. And you will get to a point, and I've got to a point where I can now, even when I do have massive symptoms, because I've trained my brain enough that I can go, oh, I've got these massive symptoms, and I can also sit and look at it with this distance without having to really indulge in the fear that goes with something that just hurts so much. And this, yes, this does work for fatigue, because fatigue is physical. Anything that has a physical sensation in the body, you can do this on, including anxiety, including fear, all on its own. Anything that has a physical reaction in the body, you can do this on. So let's begin. I call this activity meeting Mr. Bimbo. Mr. Bimbo is the man that lives in Fozzie Bear's finger in Muppet Treasure Island. And this is also a little side note, we're allowed to have fun. Okay, we're allowed to have fun. But if you haven't done somatic tracking before and you're not sure how to do it and you're not sure how to make it feel safe, this is a really great starting exercise. So I'm going to ask you to sit comfortably, and I'm going to ask you to just raise your finger. And I'm going to ask you to squeeze your finger, okay? Because what we're going to do is we're going to look at this sensation specifically. So I'm going to ask you also to close your eyes and drop your head, because you can. You can put your finger in your lap. You don't have to hold it up high. So just take a moment, feet on the floor, breathe in, and a long exhale. Drop those shoulders. We're going to do another one of those. Breathe in. Exhale and drop those shoulders. Okay, so squeeze the top of your finger, because I want you to meet someone very important. This is Mr. Bimbo. Mr. Bimbo lives in the very top of your finger. He's been there all along, quietly minding his own business, waiting for someone to say hello. So, as we allow our shoulders to soften, there's nothing to achieve here, there's nothing to fix. This is a moment to become curious, okay? So now that you're squeezing the top of your finger very gently, just enough so that you notice that Mr. Bimbo is there, as you keep that gentle pressure, imagine your best, calmest, most loving version of yourself who's never experienced a finger before. And instead of asking, do I like this, or is this good or bad, we're just going to ask, what do I notice? Can you feel pressure? Warmth? Is there coolness? Can you feel a pulse? Or a slight tingling? Does it feel firm or fuzzy, sharp or buzzing? Or maybe it's difficult to find the words at all. But whatever you notice is exactly right. See if you can describe Mr. Bimbo with curiosity, almost as though you're describing him to a friend who's never had fingers. So you don't need to change the sensation. You don't need it to disappear. You're simply getting to know your tiny finger friend. Take one more slow breath. Now notice that you've spent a minute paying close attention to a sensation and nothing happened. You observed it. You described it. You stayed safe. And that's exactly the skill that we're practicing in order to be able to do somatic tracking safely. We're just noticing. So wiggle your toes, breathe in, head up, exhale. Just met Mr. Bimbo. And that's the state of mind and the frame of mind and the type of attention that we want to bring to our symptoms. Now we're going to try a full somatic practice exercise on a symptom. So what I want you to do is pick a symptom that is not your biggest or your worst, okay? I want you to pick something that you maybe find, like an actor that you don't mind. It's like, okay, they're there. I can bear it because actually I like this film. So whatever that symptom is to you, that's the one that we're going to work with today, because we don't want to go super big. As before, we're going to put our feet calmly on the floor, rest your hands in your lap, take a deep breath. If you need to, hand on chest, just gently thumb rub. Close your eyes and drop your head, okay? All you have to do is listen. So now we're going to do exactly the same thing we did with Mr. Bimbo. The only difference is that this time we're going to gently meet one of your symptoms. And remember, we're not practicing feeling the symptom. We're practicing feeling safe while feeling the symptom, which is a really different thing. So take that slow, long breath in and a longer exhale. Let it go. So choose one symptom that feels safe enough to explore today. It doesn't need to be your biggest or loudest or most frightening one. Just think of this as choosing a conversation partner, not a battle. Pick one that feels manageable. And as we begin, keep the 3 gentle principles in mind. We're going to be curious. So imagine you're a scientist who's discovered something fascinating. Not a doctor trying to fix it, not a detective trying to work out what's wrong, just someone who's deeply interested. And ask yourself, what do I notice? Remember, you are safe. So as you observe, gently remind yourself, this sensation is real, but it is not dangerous. This is my brain and nervous system trying to protect me, and I am safe in this moment. You don't need to force yourself to believe every word. Just allow yourself to become open to the possibility that this is a protective alarm rather than a sign of damage. And you have the control and the power to step out of this any time you choose. And remember, there is no agenda. You are not here to make the symptom disappear. You are not checking whether this is working. You are simply becoming acquainted with this sensation in a new way. And when we stop fighting the alarm, the brain gradually learns that it no longer needs to keep sounding it. Now, allow the attention to rest gently on that symptom you've chosen. No forcing, no staring, just noticing. And take another slow breath and ask quietly, what do I notice? If this sensation had a shape, what shape would it be? A pebble? A ribbon? A cloud? A circle? If it had a colour, what colour comes to mind? Is it bright yellow or deep blue? Is it grey? It might be transparent. There's no wrong answer. If it had a texture, what would it feel like? Smooth, rough, fluffy? Is it sticky or prickly? Maybe it's velvety. If it had a temperature, would it be warm or cool or somewhere in between? Does it feel heavy or light? Is it dense or airy or still or moving? If it's moving, which direction does it travel? Does it swirl or ripple or pulse? Maybe it expands or contracts. Does it have clear edges or does it fade gently into the surrounding area? If you could give it a speed, would it be completely still? Or would it be slow like honey or fizzy like sparkling water? Simply keep describing it to yourself, not judging, not analysing, just noticing. And perhaps as you observe, it changes. Perhaps it doesn't. Both are perfectly okay. If your mind starts saying, I wish this would stop, what if this means something, or am I doing this right? Simply notice those thoughts with kindness and gently return to the description. Colour, texture, movement, shape, temperature, pressure, curiosity. And each time you return with curiosity instead of fear, you're sending your nervous system a powerful message. This sensation is safe to experience. I don't need to brace against it. I don't need to solve it. Take one more slow breath and thank your brain for are trying hard to protect you. It may simply be overestimating the danger right now. And notice that. Notice that you stayed with the sensation. You observed it. You became curious about it. And most importantly, you practiced feeling safe while feeling it. And this is how we begin changing the conversation between the brain and body, one gentle moment of curiosity at a time. Breathe in. Long, slow exhale, maybe with a sound this time. Wiggle those toes. Come back to the root. That's amazing. Well done. Now, if we need to, one thing we can also do for ourselves is a big hug. As long as it's longer than 6 seconds, I've got all relaxed. That's it. Hug yourself. Squeeze yourself tight. The brain doesn't know the difference between someone else giving you a hug and you giving you a hug. All it needs is the pressure, maybe a gentle thumb rub. Because I know that's challenging. But actually, the more we practice, the more we're teaching our brain how safe we are to be in our amazing bodies. And let it go. This somatic tracking exercise is very similar to the previous one, but we're going to look at it and approach it slightly differently. So this is where we do the same type of exercise where we take a moment and we sit with ourselves and we sit with our symptoms, but this time we are really focusing on the shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw this one, because this is one of the ways that I help myself all the time, in fact. Actually, this has got to the point now where I can do this, where I'm just out and about in my normal day, because I've practiced this strategy of creating the shape and drawing and exploring the colour and things. And now I can just do it as a quick mental thing. So I'm going to show you this visually, but actually this is a mental practice still. So the thing I'm going to show you is, okay, this is me. Hello, me. Okay, I've got one really long leg. And this is my symptom. And my symptom can be a huge pain in my leg, for example. Or it could be the fatigue or the anxiety. And what I love about this exercise is this is where we start to recognize that our symptoms can be bigger than we are. So let's say the anxiety sits around me like a huge red cloud, okay? So once we start to give it a shape and give it a texture and give it words like big and red and cloud, the next thing I can do is draw a line around it. So I'm going to draw a line around this huge anxiety cloud, okay? And now that I've drawn a line around it, I can now draw a line down the middle of it. And I can start to explore the sensations in each half. And when I start to notice this, what I can start to realize very quickly is this isn't a physical, there's no physical damage here, okay? So we can start to explore whether the left half is stronger or the right half is stronger. And when we start to give space to those feelings, our brain starts to recognize that it can let it go, okay? Same with pain. We draw a shape around it. And again, it can be bigger than our bodies. 9.5. Which side is stronger? Which side is weaker? Okay, so that's the visualization. We can just take a moment to do the exercise together. So as always, big breath in, long breath out, drop your head. Pick a symptom. So we're going to explore the symptom with the same gentle curiosity, and we're going to practice feeling safe while feeling it. With every moment of curiosity, we're telling our brain, I can notice this and I am safe. So that's slow, comfortable breath in. Drop the shoulders, slow, comfortable breath out. So we're going to settle gently on the symptom, and we're going to remind ourselves this sensation is real. This sensation is not dangerous. This sensation can be and feel bigger than my body. My brain may be sounding a false alarm, but right now I am safe. So before we think about what the sensation feels like, we are going to be curious about the shape. If this sensation had a shape, what would it be? A circle, an oval, a cloud, a ribbon, a pebble, something completely different. Don't overthink it. Whatever comes first is perfect. Now notice how big it is. Maybe it's the size of a pea. Maybe it's a tennis ball. It could be your whole hand. It may even be bigger than your body, extending beyond your skin into the space around you, and that is totally okay. Many people experience sensations that don't seem confined to the body's boundaries. There's no right or wrong. You're simply noticing what your brain presents to you. Now notice the edges. Are they sharp and well defined, or soft and misty, or do they gently fade away, or have they already got a clear outline? And now imagine you have a bright coloured pen, and very gently draw a line around the outside of that shape. You don't need artistic talent. There is no perfect drawing. Just trace the outline exactly as you experience it, and take your time. Now with your same bright pen, draw one gentle dotted line straight through the middle of the shape, creating two halves. Pause there for a moment and simply notice. Does one side feel stronger than the other? Perhaps the left, maybe it's the right, or perhaps the top feels different from the bottom. Maybe one side feels denser or warmer, or simply catches your attention first. Whatever you notice is enough. Now, allow your attention to rest on the stronger side, as though you're meeting it for the first time, and ask yourself, what do I notice? You might discover that first seem like one single sensation is actually made up of many different experiences. Perhaps there's pressure with warmth, or tingling with tightness, or an ache with tiny flickers of vibration, a feeling of heaviness mixed with gentle movement. Our brains often label everything as simply pain or symptom, but today we become more specific. The more detail your brain notices, the less it has to rely on fear. And now we can continue exploring. If this part had a colour, what would it be? If it had a texture, how would it feel? Is it warm? Is it cool? Does it move? Simply keep observing. There's nothing to fix and nothing to solve. Just noticing. And now we're going to look at the other side of the shape. And how does it compare? Is it softer or brighter or duller? More spacious? Is it less intense? Or perhaps it's almost identical? And maybe it's completely different. There's no right answer. There's only information. And as you continue observing, you may notice the shape itself begin to shift, and maybe the outline changes. It might grow or it might shrink. But every one of these experiences is welcome, because we're not looking for change, we're looking for safety. Take another slow breath. Exhale and notice what you've just done. Rather than becoming trapped inside the sensation, you've stepped into the role of the observer, a curious explorer, a compassionate scientist, an incredible artist. You've discovered what once felt like a solid block of discomfort is actually made up of a shape with movement and boundaries and colour and temperature. That your brain is learning a new way of paying attention, not through fear, but through curiosity. Not through protection, but through safety. So take one final breath in. As you exhale, gently remind yourself, I can feel this. I can be safe. The sensation doesn't have to disappear for my brain to learn that I am okay. Inhale Exhale. Wiggle those toes. Let the shape go. Come back to the room. Well done. I think it's important to have fun, because when we are living with a condition that is so difficult to feel, fun is really, really important. And the more fun we have, the more we teach our brains how safe we are. So one of the things that I like to do is imagine, what would David Attenborough do? So this is how we can wrap up our somatic practices, where we've actually just experienced something that might have felt a bit difficult. And actually, you don't even have to do somatic practices to use this technique. You can just take this technique through your day with you, however you want. So what would David Attenborough do? We replace "my pain is awful" with "here we see a fascinating sensation. At first, it appeared as a dense grey cloud sitting quietly in the lower back. As our observer became curious, they noticed that it revealed ripples of tiny warmth gently moving through the centre. We can become our own David Attenborough. So what I'm going to ask you to do is, with those sensations you just experienced, finish the sentence, "Today, David Attenborough observed." So for me, the amazing Katie that has just been exploring her environment internally has noticed that there is this wonderful red cloud growing outside of her body from her shoulders above her head. The red cloud moves and undulates, but is able to disappear once it's looked at with any intensity. There's no right or wrong way of being David Attenborough, but you are allowed to have fun with it, okay? So if you need to be David Attenborough, be David Attenborough. If you want to share those with me, drop it in the comments below. I love to hear people's David Attenboroughs. Anyway, Matt, I hope you're doing okay. And really well done, because this is not easy. David would also be proud of you. So somatic tracking is the tool we can take with us everywhere we go if we want to. It's a way of us practicing becoming a safe observer, somebody who doesn't hate our bodies, somebody who is not afraid of our bodies, somebody who is learning how to embrace and accept what's happening to us in a way that feels safe. And the more we do it, it's the paradox, the more we let those symptoms just be without reacting to them with fear, the brain will get the message and it will start calming down bit by bit by bit. It's a great little tool, absolutely worth giving it a go. Thanks for joining me.